Good morning. I was having computer problems just now. I think I still am, but the show must go on. I don't know why I'm having problems this morning. Also, looks like it's going to rain. It's getting black out there, so it's going to rain very heavily, probably in about 10 minutes. Anyhow, couple films opening in Hong Kong. Yeah, opened in Hong Kong yesterday. Today's Friday, so let's talk about the little one first. First one is called Arctic. And it stars the absolutely fantastic, as always, Mads Mikkelsen from Denmark, who was in At Eternity's Gate. He played the priest. He was in The Hunt. He was the star of The Hunt, which was an amazing Danish film about a kindergarten teacher who gets wrongly accused of sexual abuse. He was in The Horrible Charlie Countryman, starring Shia LaBeouf. What did I read about Shia LaBeouf the other day? Oh yeah, he's making a movie with Mel Gibson. Oh my God. That boy, that boy. Bad he's got a bad agent or makes bad choices. I don't know. Anyhow, and Mads Mikkelsen was also the star of TV's Hannibal for a few years. So the story is, now before I get to the story, just a question. If you had a choice, would you rather be stranded in a desert or on an icy tundra up in the Arctic? I think I would choose the tundra because at least you can eat the snow and you got drinking water. But either way, I don't want to find out anytime soon. But for the character played by Mikkelsen, he has no choice because his twin engine plane crashes in the Arctic in Iceland, and he's stuck out there. So as the story opens, we see the character. His name is Overgaard, and we only know his name because it's written on his parka. I don't recall anywhere in the film that he says his name, but I think we do see it on his parka, assuming that's his parka. And it's at least a month since the crash because you're looking at the length of his beard and how easily he goes about his daily routine to survive. And that routine, which is guided by the beeps on his watch, this watch beeps throughout the day to tell him, okay, this is time to finish this, time to move on to the next thing. He's got a very regimented schedule, and that doesn't happen overnight. Clearly the guy had wilderness training, the character had wilderness training, but he this is something you just don't, you don't do it as smoothly as he does it overnight. So he's been out there for a while. So we see him cleaning the snow that may have fallen overnight off of his gigantic SOS sign. He checks the ice fishing lines that he set out for any new catches of fish. And he climbs to a nearby rise where he cranks up his plane's distress beacon for any small chance that somebody's going to hear it and come and rescue him. But it doesn't seem to happen. Well, I don't want to ruin this, but his situation becomes even more dire when he finds a young woman played by Icelandic Thai actress. So I guess Icelandic father, Thai mother, I assume. Her name is Maria Thelma Samaradottir, and she is the sole survivor of a helicopter crash. Now, though she's badly injured, he makes the decision to take her back to his plane wreck and try to nurse her back to health. And on one of his journeys back to the helicopter, he strips it of anything that could help them survive longer, and he finds a contour map of the area. So he works out a route to the nearest population center, and he decides to pack the woman onto a sled, and along with anything else they might need for this trek that they're going to do, and assuming that they'll survive the elements and the mountains and hungry polar bears along the way. And that's the story. Now, we've seen similar films like this before from the 1993 film Alive, which was about the true story about the Uruguayan rugby team. Wow, I remember seeing that film in that opening sequence where they're crashing. I mean, this was before there was like the CGI of today. That was really well done. And then also The Revenant, starring Leonardo DiCaprio in 2015. So, this film doesn't break any new ground in terms of wilderness survival, surviving the cold, that sort of thing. So this, it doesn't, we've seen this before. But this is really compelling viewing thanks to Mikkelsen's totally committed performance and the near dialogue-free screenplay by first-time director Joe Penna, who apparently he's a Brazilian fellow, and he's a YouTube star, and his co-writer Ryan Morrison. Now, it's similar in tone to the excellent 2013 film All Is Lost, which starred Robert Redford. If you haven't seen that one, I really highly recommend it. I don't think it ever came to Hong Kong, but I've seen it, and it's an amazing film. So it's similar in tone because both films have intelligent characters who rely on their ingenuity to try to survive their hopeless situation. And more than that, there are no volleyballs or other inanimate objects to provide companionship or a sounding board for the protagonist of the film. So there's no Wilson or anything like that. And, you know, and until he finds this woman, Overgaard he's by himself. He's, you know, he knows it. And interestingly, he doesn't talk aloud to himself. I mean, I think I would be talking to myself a lot, but he doesn't. But very wisely, Penna, he points the camera. Well, he wasn't the cameraman, but he points the camera right on Overgaard's face, so we try to understand what's inside his head. You know, get a glimpse of what's inside his head. Now, my only beef with this film, I enjoyed the film a lot, but my only beef with it involves the soundscape, because in other Arctic films I've seen, it's incredibly quiet. All you hear is the wind blowing across the plain and the sound of ice cracking. Here, there's a lot of noise. I mean, you get that too, but there's a lot of other noise that they've added to it for dramatic effect, and I think that was a bad choice. You know what? Like, maybe when the film was finished and they played the rough cut, and Penna said, you know, he was nervous about the film's marketability because it's so quiet, that he said, "Oh, we need to add sound, you know, in post production." You know what, Joe? We've seen A Quiet Place. We can sit through 90 minutes or however long Quiet Place was of no sound or barely any sound. So, you know what, my feeling is this was an unfortunate choice on his part. We didn't need all the sound. But you know what? I still think this is a movie that's well worth seeing. Not as good as All Is Lost, but very good nevertheless. It premiered last year, a year ago, because Cannes is on right now. It premiered a year ago at the Cannes Film Festival. It was released in the US last February. What are we in May? So we're 3 months behind the United States. So it's opening here. It opened here yesterday opposite John Wick, the new John Wick movie. So don't expect it to stay in the cinemas for very long. And especially next week, there's 8 new films opening. I'm not talking about all 8. I won't have seen all 8, but there are 8 new films opening next week in Hong Kong. So do not expect, you know, if you do want to see this film in the cinema, you got to see it this week, because I think after next week, it'll only be playing, you know, at 11:25 at some godforsaken place, at 11:25 in the morning at some godforsaken place. That's Hong Kong for you. So that's called Arctic. I thought, you know what, for a first film, Joe Penna, you did a great job. Looking forward to what you're going to do next, because I thought did a great job for a first film. All right, big film that opened yesterday in Hong Kong, saw it last night, opens today in America and probably most other markets, is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. And I'm not going to tell you what Parabellum means. If you don't know your Latin, you're going to have to wait and watch the movie and find out what Parabellum means. Or you can Wikipedia it, or Google it, or whatever. So this is the 3rd installment of everybody's favorite dog-loving hitman, John Wick. He's on the run from everyone, but this time there's nowhere for him to go. If you didn't see John Wick 2, John Wick Chapter 2, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be honest. I didn't see it either. And my friends said to me, "Oh, you're going to have to see it to understand John Wick 3 because it starts minutes after the end of John Wick 2. And I thought, no, I'll see what I can do. So what I did was I read a very detailed description of the synopsis, and I got it. So if you haven't seen John Wick Chapter 2 and you do want to see John Wick Chapter 3, just go online, read about John Wick Chapter 2, and you'll be fine. You know, maybe no, I think I was okay. I didn't, you know what, watching the film last night, I didn't say, well, who's that, or what's that, or, you know, where's that? I got it. But you do need to see John Wick 1 to the first one to really understand what this franchise is all about. So number 1, I did see. Number 2, I didn't. So as I said, this story, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, picks up immediately after the end of John Wick Chapter 2. I'm going to tell you what happens in John Wick Chapter 2 in very broad strokes, so you don't even have to review. You don't even have to read reviews. We have John, who's played by Keanu Reeves. He kills someone. I'm not going to get into who he kills. If you want to know, you got to read or watch the movie. He kills someone in the lounge of the Continental Hotel, which is run by his friend Winston, played by the always amazing Ian McShane. He's going to be seen at the end of the month in the new Deadwood movie on HBO. Can't wait, can't wait. And if you kill someone in the Continental Hotel, that's an absolute no-no. You can't do that in the Wikiverse, as people like to call it. And Winston has no choice but to declare John excommunicado and revoke his sanctuary privileges and all access to the Continental's resources. And boy, there are plenty of resources in the Continental. But Winston delays the announcement for an hour to give John a chance to get away before everyone in the underworld comes after him. And they do, because now there's a $14 million bounty on his head. So that's John Wick Chapter 2. That's the basics that you need to know before you go into this film. So if you want to know more, you need to watch Chapter 2. All right, so in Chapter 3, he's now on the run, and he's fending off wave after wave of knife-wielding goons in wonderful places in Hong Kong, like the stacks of the New York Public Library, at an antique armory, in the Central Park horse stables, or one of the Central Park horse stables, inside the Grand Central Terminal, and on the Verrazano Narrow Bridge. There are some amazing set pieces in the beginning. The first 2, I would say, are fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. But what happens is, once he gets away from everybody, he decides to call in a few markers of his own. One is from a ballet director, and she's a member of the High Table. I don't know that she had a name. I think she was just like the ballet director. I don't know. But it's played by Angelica Houston, Oscar winner Angelica Houston. And the other is from fellow assassin Sophia, played by another Oscar winner, Halle Berry. And Sophia owns 2 very well-trained killer mastiffs. You know, this is a movie about dogs, so, and there's horses in this movie too. It's very good that she's got 2 killer dogs with her. Now, his journey takes him from New York to Morocco and back to New York again, and during this time, he's got to take on the full resources of the High Table, as well as its emissary, the adjudicator, played by Asia Kate Dillon, who was in TV's Orange is the New Black, if he's going to stay alive. Now, that's all I'm going to tell you about the story. And it doesn't really matter what the story is, because like in the first 2 John Wick films, well, I don't know about the second, but I do know about the first, story doesn't matter. This is all about action. This is all about choreography. This is a cinematic equivalent of a first-person shooter video game with plenty of levels that get progressively harder to beat. Now, knowing that, this film does not disappoint in the least. The choreography is fantastic, and that's because the director, Chad Stahelski, is a former stuntman. He was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the Matrix films, so he knows his stunt choreography. This is fabulous. I mean, there's a couple guys in this film from The Raid, from the Indonesian film. A couple Indonesian actors from The Raid. The Raid had good stunt work too. But there was another one. Oh, there was a Peter Berg film that was horrible last year, 2 years ago. That had horrible stunt work. This is just, I can't say how good the stunt work and the action sequences are in this film. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. As I said, the first 2 fight scenes are incredibly enjoyable to watch. You're going to laugh. I mean, because it is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Just, you know what, if you're not into hyperviolence, stay away from this film. But I think you already know, stay away from this series. I mean, it only takes minutes before the dead body count reaches 20. It goes much, much higher than that by the end of the film. I mean, people are getting shot, killed, stabbed, whatever, having their nanas bitten off by dogs. Um, you know, lot of violence. Now, once again, Reeves does a fabulous job. I'm not a Keanu Reeves fan, but this is really a franchise for him. This is a character that's right up his alley. So I think he does a great job here. He's like the ever. I think I even said this when I reviewed John Wick 3. He's like the ever ready bunny. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking. You know, he's amazing. And what's really good about the writing and the writing of his character, let's say, and his performance of the character is that he's a very sympathetic character. John Wick is a very sympathetic character. You know, for an assassin, he's very sympathetic, even though his only redeeming quality is that he likes dogs. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can say, okay, he's a man of honor, but, you know, he operates by the code, but he's supposed to operate by the code. That's the deal that he signs up to when he got into this whole, you know, assassin business. But I think the fact that he loves his dogs is a big thing. So I think, you know, full marks, loved it. Ian McShane, I absolutely love. You know what? I have a man crush on Ian McShane. I loved him in the TV show Deadwood 10 years ago. I'm so excited that the film is coming back. It's going to be here in a couple, 2 weeks from now. You know, as I think I wrote in my review of the first John Wick film that Ian McShane can read a phone book and it'll be riveting to watch. You know, the guy has got this beautiful tonal quality to his voice. He makes great facial expressions. He doesn't even like do a lot, but what he does with his eyes and with just his face, the guy's fabulous. Also fabulous is Lance Reddick, who he comes back. This is the third film also that he's been in the series. He plays Sharon, the concierge, the black concierge at the Continental Hotel. Also fabulous in this film too. So I think their performances are great. Now here's what I didn't like about this film. Now, one of the things I didn't like about the first film is that I said this is a neo-noir. This is supposed to be a neo-noir thriller. It's not noir enough. It's not dark enough. There's lots of laughs, which is fine. I have no problem with the laughs. I laughed quite a bit myself. They're well earned, but when it should have been more Blade Runner-ish, and there even is a scene that's almost, you know, homage, or it's, you know, maybe it's even ripped off from Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner. It wasn't dark enough. It needed to be darker. And you know, I think I wrote in my first review, it needed a bit of David Lynch's weirdness, you know, to really get to that point. So I was disappointed with that. It wasn't dark enough. The other problem I had with the film was the casting of Halle Berry. I can't stand her. You know what? She won an Oscar for Monsters Ball in 2001. That was 18 years ago. What has she done since then that's been any good? She's a horrible actress. In her portrayal of Sophia, there's no nuance to this character. She's angry, and her face is in a permanent scowl. That's it. And you know what? When you have Botox in your face for as long as she's had it, it's hard to make a scowl. So I thought she was horrible in this film. The other one that is also horrible is Asia Kate Dillon. Now, I don't care that we don't call her a she, we don't call her a he. She's a non-binary person, apparently. She prefers to be referred to as they. So I don't care that they are non-binary. They are a horribly wooden actor in the generic sense of the word. That they should not be acting. You know, and in every scene that they're in, I was hoping that John or anybody would just kill her. You know, just get her off the screen. Her voice is so annoying, and it was so disjarring for the movie. I would have preferred, this is supposed to be a badass, no-nonsense character. I would have preferred to see somebody like Dutch actress Sylvia Hooks, who was in Blade Runner 2049. She was the badass in Blade Runner 2049. And she was the sister in The Girl in the Spider's Web. I would have preferred to see her in this role because she would have really added something to this character. So I'm sorry, Asia Kate Dillon, you're a horrible actor. You should not be in Hollywood. At least this was really a bad film for you. Last complaint I have about this film is that it's about 10 minutes too long. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It easily could have been cut down to under 2 hours. You know, some of these fight scenes just went on a little bit too long, especially the last one. I won't get into it. It went on a little bit too long. But other than that, I was very entertained by this film. I really enjoyed it. well worth seeing. You know, yeah, of course, you have to be prepared for hyperviolence. So you know what, if that's not your thing, do not go near this film. It's a very violent film, but it's well done. You know, I liked it. So apparently, Reeves said the other day he doesn't want the franchise to continue. He feels that if there's more installments, it's going to ruin the series. But this film ends on a note where there's no doubt there's going to be a John Wick Chapter 4, and you even know what's going to be in it because it just lays it out so clearly. You know that there's going to be another one. Problem is that Reeves is 54 now. He'll be, you know, let's say they start shooting next year, 55. It'll be released in 2021, late 2020 at the best. Probably not, probably 2021. I don't know if he's even physically up to doing another one. Time and money will tell. So that's John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. I liked it, even though it had problems. Go see it. That's it. So enjoy your weekend and the following week. As I said, next week, 8 films. I'm not doing them, but I am talking about Aladdin, I think. Yeah, I think I'm doing Aladdin next week, which I haven't seen yet, but I will see it by the time next Friday comes around. See ya.